Hey guys, so as we were editing the video, come to realize that the files for me mounting the bed rack and the roof rack got corrupted somehow, and it saved the audio, wouldn't save the video, spent like a half a day trying to get it figured out. And so I figured the best thing to do would just be to actually come in here and do a quick after of how I did it. Now the good thing about that is, these are the two easiest things to do, right? Other than me having some difficulties with it being a North Star, which I'll get through that here in just a second. This is the easiest part of the whole process, is putting the roof rack and the bed rack on. Now for me specifically, because I have North Star Edition, it is just the rack that goes on top of your existing roof. They do make a roof for if you buy one that is stock, just has the frame on there, the roll cage, that actually give you a new roof plus the box on top, or the rack on top. But mine is just simply a rack that goes on top of it, on the roof that's existing and the bed rack. And I'll go over that right now. All right, so here's the bed rack. I got the cargo lights on right now, just because it's getting dark in here so you can actually see what it is. So what I like about this bed rack and why I think it don't rattle is the actual tie down points that it has to the actual bed of the Ranger itself. So as you see, that's my bed rattling, not the rack. Now I've had this on now for a few weeks and I've used it for brush piles and all kinds of stuff, and I've had zero problem from it rattling, which I like a lot. It's real simple. The number one thing I tell you as you're getting ready to do this, the wire loom that all your wires go to for the bed is run right here, and as it goes through this hole, it is just tied up here. So you want to go ahead and clip that and get it out of the way best you can, or even run it through the body. That way you're not pinching the wires and risking breaking them. I was already cinching this bad boy down before I realized that it was starting to crimp the wires, and so I quickly undid it all. But luckily no issues for mine. So it's real simple. Get this on there. It comes with these clamps right here. As you're doing the clamps, you get them on there. You can hand tighten. Now remember, one side's reverse threaded, the other side is not. That's how the tensioner works. You thread it one way and it'll normal thread and then reverse thread. I use a 17 millimeter, tighten. Then once I got it where I needed to be, the 14 millimeter on this locking nut right here. So get it all the way down, hand tighten it, then actually clamp it down a few times, and that'll keep that thread from backing out any, which will keep this from turning, which will keep that from backing out any. So it's very, very simple, but it works very, very well. And once you have it on, that is pretty much it. Do it for all four sides. Of course, you gotta keep your tie down points in the bed. And that is it. This is the easiest installation of the whole deal. Don't be an idiot and try to do it one man as far as lifting. My dad helped me actually pick this one up and put it in the bed, and that way I could line it up perfectly. No problems with the wedge. I mean, it all fit just fine. So that is how you install the bed rack. All right, so moving on, the roof rack. Now this part gave me a little trouble because it's kind of a puzzle piece to figure out how to work it around my doors. All right, so essentially on a regular cab or without a roof or with a roof, this will bolt right up. What I like about Swamp Box is it's made to fit without having to drill any holes or do any additional work to it. But you do have to take some stuff off on the North Star, get these on there, and then put it back on. So a quick tip, all these brackets are the same, but you'll notice that there is a larger side and a tapered smaller side. The tapered smaller side goes on the bottom, it curves up, and then flattens to the large side that holds it. I just put a big level on mine once I got them all four on there, hand tightened, leveled it up, make sure all these were taut and that it was level all the way across, and then ratchet them all the way down. So now here's where it got tricky. So both these I use 13 millimeter, work just fine. All right, as you can see, you cannot get that on there with that bracket. And then that one is hard to do as well. So what I did is, and you have a spacer that goes in here just on the side. So you can see there's a spacer right there that goes into the groove that hole is. And on the same thing over here, you can see the cutout better right there. There's a spacer that goes in there as well. On the two front doors, because of the way this bracket is, that spacer did not want to go in there. So what I had to do is I had to take both brackets off, get the spacer on there, halfway tighten it. I say halfway, probably about 2/3 of the way taut. And then that way there's still some slack in there. And then get this back on there halfway taut and it was rubbing just a little bit, but as long as there was a little play in there, the spacer would stick up a little bit. I could take my rubber mallet and pop the spacer, pop the spacer, pop the spacer, and then it would go back in. So that was just the spacer. So let me backtrack a little bit. So this bracket was on, and it was just kind of loose. Put the spacer in, it wouldn't hardly go all the way in there, but it would kind of hold a little bit at an angle, just up. Rubber mallet, pop, 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 boom, then it went in there. Once the spacer went in there, went ahead and put this bracket on, zipped it taut, and then zipped this bracket taut. Then I come back by and put the door bar on. So that is the steps on this. And it took me some trial and error a few times on both sides. Same thing on the other side. And then once you get that done, then there's no problem there. This side's super easy. Take the bolt out, take the factory bolt out. So these frames have factory bolts in there. You're gonna take those out. Here's one of them right here. You're gonna take those out, and you're gonna use the longer versions that they give you for both of them. That's why that spacer works like that. You're gonna use the longer version they give you, and you'll thread right in. These back brackets were super easy. So once you get past the doors on the North Star edition, that is your main part. On any other edition that does not have doors, you're gonna zip right through this. It just takes some puzzle piecing just a little bit to figure it out. But hopefully, if you have any questions, just put a comment on here and I'll explain it to you again. So one more time, take both brackets off. You're getting ready to put this bracket on, but don't put it on just yet. Put this bracket on just halfway loose. Put the spacer in there. It'll be kind of cockeyed. Rubber mallet it in. It'll then go in flush. Then you'll be able to mount the rest of it on there. So like I said, I wanted to go ahead and go over this again. So what I just explained to you is probably like 20, 30 minutes of video footage of me ratcheting, taking on, taking off, and doing all that stuff for the roof, trying to figure out how to put the pieces together on my door brackets with the North Star doors on there. If you don't have that, you're gonna zip right through it. But for by far the two easiest parts there are to install is just to mount them on there. And once you get that on there, the wiring, we'll go over here in just a minute. So hope that helps.